Yeah,
Go
there we
ahead.
go. All right, we'll start over again quickly. Calling to order this meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, December 10th, 2024. This is a special meeting to discuss a letter of advisory to the Select Board on vineyard wind and wind turbines in general. First of all, I'd like to we'll do a roll call of attendance. I see Peter Brace.
Aye.
Scott Anderson.
Aye.
Dave Franzuto.
Aye.
Dave Bossi.
Aye.
Bob DeCosta.
Aye.
And I am here as well, Andrew Lowell. Can we have an approval of tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Brace to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. DeCosta,
Aye.
and I think I missed on the roll call. Mr. Bossi is here.
Aye.
Thank you, Dave. Chair votes aye as well. We'll have no Marine Department report tonight. We'll have no Natural Resources report tonight. So, working on some revisions to the draft letter that we've all contributed to and Mr. Brace kindly put together for us. Honestly, I think it looks pretty good. So I want to thank you immediately for that, Mr. Brace, for taking the time to put everything together like you did.
So on to where I was. Vineyard wind, South Coast wind, and any future or pending offshore wind turbine installation. Developments or developers. I'd say developers to provide the town with a copy of safety and inspection procedures. And then I can do the same sentence up to developers for everywhere that I've mentioned vineyard wind. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Because you can't put the onus on a project, because a project is not a responsible party. The responsible party is the developer, the company, the person.
Okay.
So, in writing these letters to, pretty much anybody, but, the further up we go in the chain, specificity is important, because then when legal stuff gets involved, we have to be telling them what we're thinking. It can't be vague. So.
Okay, so some of this you have in red, Peter.
What?
Some of the draft letter you have in red, meaning is that something you were questionable about?
I didn't put anything in red. What I sent you is what I sent you. Someone else may have.
I can clarify that. The email came from Dave Bossi, and he redlined comments, some additions and some modifications.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
I just didn't look at it because I didn't look at it. I didn't know who was talking to who, and open meeting law freaks me out. So I wait till we talk in person, and then afterwards you can send me whatever.
Okay. Well, has everybody had a chance to review the entire letter?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Bossi, do you want to address what you have highlighted?
Still muted.
Dave Bossi?
Sorry, I was using a new feature of Zoom, but I can't, which is where you can press the space bar, like it's a microphone key, but I can't do that while I'm also looking at my documents. So let me, I just went off mute.
Okay.
So, destruction on the shoals on the eastern side, that's going to confuse a lot of people because there is no proposal right now for, in front of anybody for a submarine transmission cable running from the south of the island north of Boston. So I inserted for the proposed submarine transmission cable because that is it is proposed, but it's certainly not before anybody right now, to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, somebody absolutely correct me.
So after where I said by hydroplow for the proposed, that's where you put that?
Correct.
Okay.
Any comments on that? People okay, or I'll just keep moving?
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
The next one, the marine life impacts from electromagnetic fields given off by electric current through the submarine transmission cable. It seems a little disingenuous to me because we have two cables already coming to the island. And I just think somebody's going to look at that and go, well, yeah, sure, it's not coming and servicing your island, so now you're objecting to it.
Right.
So I'd like to get
that
some
was
input
my
on that.
comment, and I withdraw that.
Okay.
What do you mean you withdraw that?
And in other words, the marine impact. I mean, the electromagnetic fields. I think I should take that part out.
Well, it was also Jim Sherlin's comment.
Okay.
Or we could say potential.
Well, we're adding two. We may have two cables already, which are supplying the entire island. When we look at the map of what is taking place already and what the potential, and Bob stressed this well at a previous meeting, of how many cables are going to be out there. The two that we have existing that are powering the island are one thing, but the very many that are proposed for the future are simply adding to the issue. And I'll say, if it's an issue at all, I believe, there is some proof that there is an issue there, and there may be questionable whether there's an issue with the electromagnetic current. But I question it being disingenuous. It's kind of like some of the comments you hear. Well, if we didn't have wind turbines out there, we might see oil platforms or oil rigs out there. Well, we're not seeing oil rigs out there. We're talking about the wind, turbines, and in this case, we're talking about the transmission lines for the wind turbines. We're not talking about the two cables that feed this island. Honestly, there wasn't a choice but to have those two cables feeding the island. In the case of offshore wind construction, in a way, there is a choice. The choice was made to do this type of construction. If the choice was not made to do this type of construction, then the cables wouldn't be put in. That's simply how I feel about it. I'm not seeing, I can understand, Dave, where you see the disingenuous in this, or Scott, but on the same token, I think that can be argued. I think the disingenuous can be argued. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll take comments from the rest of the board on this one.
Yeah, I think you meet in the middle, but just by saying potential in front of marine.
Maybe potential additional as the systems are built out or something like that.
Okay.
I think we should leave it in there It can be vague. I have no problem with potential
Additional.
future or, yeah. But we're trying to put together a letter of all of our concerns, and this is frankly one of them. You know, there was no, you know, this probably would have come up when they ran the cables across the sound had they asked us about our input on it. But when they ran those two cables into the island for power, there was never any discussion with the
Actually,
town.
there was a lot, and there was a lot of people who were opposed to it, and I covered it for the Nantucket Beacon. And there were
I don't-
lots and lots
Did
of,
Did Shab make comments though, Peter? That's what I'm asking. I don't think they did.
honestly
Maybe
can't
they
remember,
did.
but there were outside groups advocating against
I remember all that.
the
Right.
electromagnetic fields. And of course, you know, the Alliance to Protect Nantucket Sound brought up all that stuff.
Right. Well, I think we should just leave it in there, like you said, with the comment that you just made, the additions that you just made
Okay.
for the
Potential additional marine life impacts from electromagnetic fields given off by electric current flowing through submarine transmission cables.
That's fine. Yep.
And Scott, Dave Bossy, Scott, you okay with that?
I'm fine with the modification.
Yeah, that's okay.
Great, thanks.
So I'll
Next.
continue if you want.
All right.
My next one was down on potential impacts on shellfish and crustaceans. I just felt that was repetitive because we talked about earlier habitat destruction from submarine electric energy transmission cable installation by hydroplow. And this is potential impacts. It's a lot more general. I just think we should go with one or the other, or maybe take two of them and combine them together. That was just my opinion. I was just trying to shorten it down to really heavy hitting points. And this almost felt a little repetitive to me. That's all.
Well, I'm not sure, Peter, if you're taking this from, and I don't know if I had this in my opinions or not, but I'll ask the entire board, have you seen the notices from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute where they're going to be studying next spring and next summer the potential impacts on shellfish, specifically sea scallops, and supposedly they've already been looking at how the sea scallops react to the pile driving, and they've noticed that every time the pile driver hits the pile, the scallop closes up tight. But these impacts have not been studied yet, actually. And by WHOI coming out and saying we're going to study this next year, pretty much admits that potential negative effects are unknown and they're still yet to be studied. So
Andy, if I may.
I kind of like the fact that shellfish and crustaceans are specifically mentioned versus habitat destruction is general compared to really singling out the shellfish and crustaceans. Who wanted to speak?
I'm sorry, thanks. So how about we look at the one right above it, immediately above that, and maybe we combine those two.
Potential impacts of sound waves in the ocean during installation and operation on marine mammal and fish species.
Including,
Specifically shellfish, sea scallops, clams, and crustaceans. Again, I'm trying to make this a little shorter, which is my feeling, so that people read the whole thing. And I thought if we could squeeze a few of these together and still get all our points in, it's not necessary, but that was just my feeling.
so specifically shellfish and crustaceans. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If we're good with that, Andy, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so further on, there was Peter, there was just a duplicate entry. Provide the town of Nantucket a copy of safety and inspection procedures, which was, I think, just a duplicate entry. I have a note here. It's just a duplicate entry from somewhere else, but
Yeah.
now I have to find it.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, just a cut and paste thing.
well, it's at the bottom of the second page.
Oh,
The
okay,
one we
Right.
wordsmithed first. Wordsmithed first.
so moving on, the HSAB demands it be included. I hate the word demands. I know we're an elected board, and I've maintained that before, but I changed that to strongly requests. We can discuss that.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see, skipping down to require that all impact studies. Oh, yeah, and that's bad wording on my part. So right now we have required that all impact studies be done prior to offshore turbine project installation. I think the meaning of this, the intent of this was where the videography was required. It was when during the licensing, when they said, okay, you can go install this cable, and then afterwards, as Jeff pointed out, nope, that disappeared. They didn't have to do that anymore. I think that's the intent of this. So I was, my wording's not good, but because I just stuck it in the middle, but require that all impact studies required at the time of licensing, maybe specified at the time of licensing, be done prior to future future offshore wind and turbine project installation. I'm pretty sure that was what the intent of that was to the stuff that it was agreed to when the license was granted doesn't be given up later.
Okay, so
So, Peter, I would say that would read, require that all impact studies specified at the time of licensing.
stop.
Okay.
All impact studies
Specified
at the time of licensing. Yep, go ahead.
and then and then it just picks up, be done prior to offshore wind turbine project installation. Be done prior to future offshore wind turbine project installation.
Require that all impact studies specified at the time of licensing be done prior to future off. Okay.
Right? Yeah, good. Questions and comments?
Well, the only thing I wonder about there is we don't know what's specified, do we?
Well, Jeff did. Jeff knew that these video things were specified, and then they weren't forthcoming. Oh no, we were told we didn't have to do them. So that's and I didn't put this in here. I don't know who put this in, but I thought that was the intent of it, was to cover that. That's what it seemed to me.
I mean, I'm just going to refer to the last statement that Peter put in here under my name, saying here again, I believe the current installations should be commissioned for study. All future installations should be put on hold until studies are conclusive. Now, I kind of softened up on this. Honestly, personally, I wish this all just never happened, but that's my personal feelings. Now we have this huge investment out there, but then we have WHOI come in and basically say they're going to do some impact studies. How do you do an impact study unless something's out there to study? Well, now we have this installation out there. Honestly, I'd like to see it not continue any further, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and go ahead and fire up what's there so that some studying can be done. So to back up to where you were, Dave, that's what I'm thinking Peter came up with, require that all impact studies be done prior to future offshore wind turbine project installation. Whether sticking in the, what's required at time of licensing, if that waters it down any,
No. I'm saying, Andy, I read it differently. That's all. If that's how, doesn't, it's not all me how I read this.
no.
I had Jeff Carlson in mind, what he had been saying about how this stuff was required and then all of a sudden disappeared. But if that's not the case, I understand your point. That's a different point, and we should make that clear here. And because I agree with it, that's fine. Absolutely. We should make that clear here. That would be my alternative.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes, Scott.
should we include something about making sure that that Nantucket or the select board receive a copy of those impact studies?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a fine idea.
I mean, to simply say we want the studies done, they may do them, but I think we should push the issue on and shared or with the, I don't know, affected parties.
With the Natural Resources Department.
I don't know if we can require studies that are done in federal waters to be given to the town. Maybe we can, but we can at least put it in the letter that we would like the Natural Resource Department to be copied on all environmental impact studies that were done for each of these projects. Now, in the case of the videography that came through the sound, the federal government, I think it's Bowen, I guess, decided that, oh, you don't need to do the after video. In anything that happens within 3 miles of Nantucket, like say for instance the Sconset Bluff project, they had the video before and after, but that was required through our local Concom. So unless one of these cables goes through Nantucket waters, then I don't know how we can require it, but we should at least be able to say we want to see copies of everything that's been done so that we can scrutinize it and not just, I suppose that it's all available to the public, but I don't know for sure if it is or not.
Well, the cables that are going through Muskegon Channel already went before Concom. And then there was talk about how they discovered there's a hard area there and they actually need to move closer to us. And they were going to come back
Yes,
to Concom.
but the
to
state
relocate.
the state was the one that overrode the videography. So the DEP at the state level said, no, you don't have to go back and take the video.
Meaning what?
Meaning that, maybe the local, Jeff can clarify this more, but it's my understanding that they were supposed to video the bottom where the cable was going to go and then video it again after they laid the cable with the plow. And the state said, no, you don't have to video it afterwards. So that's why it was never done.
That's what I understood.
Okay.
Because it came through, because the state I guess my understanding is the state can supersede a local Concom board.
Okay.
Well, through the DEP, yeah.
Superseding order of conditions. That's how SBPF got its approval.
Don't forget, we also have a governor who is very pro-wind and she wants these projects to continue, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I was reading this, and that's why I modified this way that I did.
All right. And on that note that Bob just brought up about the governor, and backing up to Mr. Bossy's letter, which reiterates a statement by the select board saying, and Mr. Bossy is correct. You know, we shouldn't be, or everybody really shouldn't be hammering on the select board. We also should, this letter should be going to Maura Healy. This letter should be going to Senator Sear. So we'll talk about that at the end, I guess, but let's just keep that in mind that this letter may be for more than just the select board. Thanks. So next item, Mr. Bossy.
Wait a minute.
All right.
So the part that I called out for you, Andy, we're not incorporating that. We're staying with what Mr. Bossy said. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm deleting it so that I don't get distracted. Okay.
So we come to the next one, decommissioning and removing the current Vineyard Wind Offshore Turbine Project. And as my comment says, I just feel it's an untenable request. And I think it detracts from what the letter is trying to accomplish. Even Andy commented that you can't study anything. We've got this thing here. How can you study something if it's not there? It's here. Nothing we can do about that at the moment. This may be what should be studied. You know, stop and study this and see how it does. But anyway, I just thought this should be deleted.
And
I'll
that
hand that out.
you know, Scott Anderson. That was my comment, and maybe I should modify that to include provide a plan for decommissioning and throw that out only to the extent that when you looked at the good neighbor agreement, what they did was they kind of like put a 15-year period on a potential 20-year life, and then there was no discussion of what are they going to do with it, abandon it.
Right. Bob, you must be muted.
This goes back to the state and to the federal government again. And normally a project like this, it would be an escrow to remove it. They waived any requirement for a bond to remove these. So these things potentially have no, I don't know how they're going to get removed. I have my gut's telling me that 15 or 20 years from now, when these things are obsolete, the company will just go bankrupt and the state will go, we don't have the money to do it. And so will the federal government. We'll be looking at these things for the next 100 years, rusting away. But,
They'll rot in place.
you know,
What's that, Dave?
They'll rot in place.
Oh,
Yeah, it's if I may stay bossy. Yeah, this goes back to and I misunderstood again. It's how I read it. It goes back to an earlier mention, the 15 years plus 3 or whatever, and that's ridiculous, right? This is what's been approved here is like if they approved the new Tappan Zee Bridge and didn't include taking down the old one.
right.
This should never have been. This is ridiculous. We are going to have these things out here, and Charlton Heston's going to find them in the Planet of the Apes, still there, but crippled and falling over.
should we
So-
change it to say that any future projects need to we want any future projects to require a dismantling
Bonding.
plan
Yep.
and bonding to
Yeah.
dismantle these projects? Because I mean, I don't think it's anyone's good. I don't, as far as the federal government, the state are going to look at it, but at least they're just going to say it's none of our business. But at least it's in the letter that we feel strongly that any future project should have a bond in place to remove these projects at the end of their lifespan. How does that sound? Something
have
like
a
that.
Bond in place. Any future projects should have, wait,
I believe it should include the current project. This current project and any future projects.
It's already approved. It's in place. And
They don't have to, they're not gonna add this after the fact, but
No.
anyone like South Coast, for example, isn't approved yet, and we should, this would say that we want it in there that we want to bond, and we want a bond in place for the dismantle of these projects and a plan on how that's going to be done.
At their
Okay.
end of life. Yep.
Okay, so any future offshore wind turbine project should what?
Include a provision for a bond
Include a provision for a bond. Yep.
For a
For the-
decommissioning and removal process.
Decommissioning.
They do it with nuke plants. And they either
Oh.
decommission them or renew them.
So
that's
should we also specify removal of the submarine cable?
I think
Or-
all components related to the project.
Bob, you must be muted again.
Oh shit, you got me now?
Yeah.
I would be concerned about removing the cables. I think you might do more damage trying to remove them than if you just leave them there, and if there's no more current running through them, they're buried under the bottom. You know, once that benthic community starts to grow over the top of those cables again, in 15
That's a
years, it's going to be pretty healthy. Do you want to start ripping the bottom apart again?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Peter?
Okay, so any future offshore wind turbine project should include a provision for a bond for the decommission and removal process.
Or a bond to support the decommissioning and removal process.
A bond to support. Or how about a bond to fund?
I think that's so important to have the surety bond because if they do walk away, we can always call the surety and let them to get a contractor to do it.
It's interesting what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico now is these inshore oil rigs, 50 miles and in, that no longer are viable for producing oil. They become essentially artificial reefs. You know, there's no more oil coming out of the ground on them, but the platforms are there. Well, the oil companies now have sold the platforms to salvage companies, and the steel is worth so much money that they're cutting the platforms off right at the bottom. Divers are going down and cutting it off, and they're ripping all the steel out. Well, now the recreational and charter fishing industry there is collapsing because there's no structure anymore for the fish, and they're moving offshore. So, you know, that's why I say at the very least, I wouldn't want to pull the cables out, but who knows what these things are going to be like in 15 years. It might be that we look at it and decide we want just to leave the bases in the bottom and not remove them and do all that damage, but to take the superstructure off from the, you know, basically the turbine up and leave the towers. The towers stick out of the water 68 feet. I don't know. I mean, we don't know. Like you said, Andy, until these things have been studied, we don't know what the outcome's going to be. But there should be something in place to remove them. At least the upper section. We're going to just wait for the blades to fall off or snap off in a hurricane or something.
Right.
Hey, styrofoam and fiberglass might be like really important in 30 years. And they're going to chase after them and try and glean them off the towers. But no, I'm kidding.
I hear
Um,
you.
Back to the cables though, quickly. Just in reading very recently about the Block Island installation, they've had a transmission cable come up out of the bottom twice. And the report also stated that it's costed them millions to push this cable back down below the surface, and it has resurfaced 2 times. So, I mean, if we're gonna not address the cable, we need to at least address that the cables would need to be monitored you know, a couple times a year to if they do come up and out, then that's when they should be removed. Otherwise, I would think they could end up becoming a hazard to some type of fisherman's gear
Yeah, dragons are gonna find it pretty quickly, I would imagine.
or scallopers. You know, even get lobster traps caught up in them. I'm not sure, but I mean, I don't want to make this more complicated and more lengthy, but we are doing this, so we need to try to cover all bases and get it right.
Yeah, and while I agree with you, Andy, we need to get people to read it and make points that they don't have to overthink.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and I understand you want to keep it short because, you know, you lose attention as well, Dave. So I like to keep it short and sweet as well. Uh, and we can keep trying to do that, but here we are thinking about
Yeah.
something to add
No,
or
I-
not.
I hear you. Peter, could you do me a favor, and read back where we are right now with that last one?
Any future offshore wind turbine project should include a provision for a bond to fund the decommission and removal process.
If we could say add for the infrastructure, and that leaves it open, at least gets the point across. We want somebody to be putting something up to take care of the infrastructure yet to be defined.
So where am I putting the word infrastructure?
I would put it just at the end. It feels a little short. I'm just trying to think of the right word.
Okay. For the infrastructure. Removal process, okay. Okay. So are we getting rid of the one on the bottom that says decommission and remove current vineyard wind offshore wind turbine project?
Well,
Scott-
that's what we just modified.
Right. When Scott comes off mute, he'll say yes.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Okay.
We-
We're still talking about the decommissioning.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's Scott had said that was more his intent. And yeah, that's what we converted this into. Now I'm going to ask us to go back and look at the 15 years plus 3. I don't think there's any reason to take that out. I just want us to think about that.
What that is, that's the liability statute for property damage in Massachusetts, 3 years after something.
Oh, okay. Totally different. Okay, good. Thank you. So I'm good. We reached the end of what I wanted to cover, except for talking about, addressing it, who we sent it to.
Something I want to mention is that in the past, when we sent letters to various entities, they have to be reviewed by town administration. When we send letters to the ferry companies, the Libby and everybody have to sign off on them. So we may do all this and then have them say, no, you can't send that.
I question that.
At least the select board has it. The select board has come right out and said, please, to the public, please send letters to the governor, send letters to our state senator. It can't hurt to ask, can this letter, aside from being sent to you, we'd like to send it to the governor and to the state senator. If you'd like to see it modified, let us know. If you prefer we didn't send it, or they could take it and send it. I mean, they're asking, for assistance in that area, that people reach out directly. So I realize they're asking the general public, not necessarily us, but all we can do is see how the select board responds to this. I'd like to
So-
request that we also be able to send it to the governor and the senator.
So you gotta make the distinction here. The select board says, go ahead, public of Nantucket, write your congressman, write the governor, write the president. That's fine. You're allowed to go ahead and do that, but we represent the town. So that's why I think they want to see what we write, because it's coming from the town, not just a citizen.
I think,
Well,
I think that we send this to the select board, and with it, we request their permission to send it to Sear and to the governor and see what they say. I agree with you, Peter. I don't think we can just send it.
right.
I think we have to get their approval. But if they don't want us to send it, then that's a discussion that we can have with them and say, why not? You know,
You asked for our help. Here's our attempt at helping.
right, right. And if they don't like the letter, then we can go back and say, well, what parts of it don't you like? And go from
Right.
there. But we can't just, I agree with Peter. I don't think we can just send it without getting their approval. But we send this letter in this form to them and then see what, and then request that we would, with your approval, we would like to send this on to the governor and to our representatives at the state level and see what they say.
Right. And
I mean, I'd like to see this letter go to the select board, the Concom, Bone, all of them, you know?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
but we got to get approval from the select board to do that, so.
yeah. I agree. It should go to Bohm as well. And Mr. Franzuto, though, I don't believe they asked us specifically. They asked the public for help, but they didn't ask Shab for help. Do I stand to be corrected?
Well, my opinion to that is shame on them. They should have asked
Yeah,
for our assistance a long time ago.
yeah, I
And
agree.
I respectfully disagree. We don't represent the town. We represent
The voters.
the voters and the people and the fishermen and the people who make their living on the water in Nantucket.
Mhm.
But that's my opinion. What,
Mhm.
my question was, Peter, do you think, or you got my comments about the microplastics? Is this just not the place to talk about that, or we just leave that out because it's long, or what?
I don't know. I mean,
The one thing I would do, again, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Scott.
I think I would incorporate, again, something along with any future companies or entities provide a pollution and remediation plan, and again, an additional bond to support that problem. Nobody thought it was going to be a problem. It is a problem. So I don't think we have to say microplastics, but I think if you use pollution in general or environmental impact.
Well, they're microparticles, and part of what what I sent into Peter was there's really no way to mitigate these particles, no matter what. There's no type of magical system that can be deployed the minute a blade slams into the ocean. Is a kind of boom immediately be deployed to contain all of that? No. So the potential for the microparticle spread, as you've said, it's has landed on the beaches of 3 states or even more. I think we need to mention that we're very concerned about the microparticles, whether it's plastic particles. I think we should call it particles. So I mean, because they have spread all around our island. They've been found, just about everywhere, and of course, well beyond our island to other states. So whatever Dave wrote about the microplastics, if we, reword it to microparticles and somehow get a sentence in there that we're very concerned about the lack of mitigation capabilities to collect this during a failure, during and after a failure. So I'll leave it up to the rest of the board and what you think. Bob?
I have a hard stop at 6 o'clock. I have to go sell my scallops, so I just want to make a couple of comments. I'm comfortable with whatever you put in there on the microplastics, and I'm very comfortable with the letter. As far as who we're going to send it to, I want to send it to the selectmen, like I said, and I want to request that we send it to other people, other boards, because I want to see what the select board says about this. Because one of the things that supposedly is part of the good neighbor agreement is that no town entities will speak against these projects. And I want the select board to tell me as a town board that we can't do that. So this is one of the reasons why
Yeah.
I want to say to them that we want to say it to other people, because they say supposedly that we can speak against it, but I haven't heard one person at the town level speak against Vineyard Wind yet. And we are considered a town entity, and we are speaking against it. And I want to see what the select board has to say about that.
I like that,
Yeah.
Bob, because I felt the same way about that. We are the only board talking about it, and we are speaking negatively about it. And I certainly don't want to break any agreements, but at the same time, it needs to be talked about. So I don't want to be told by the select board that we can't talk about it, but
I mean, I would, Mr. Chairman, I would think that the letter would go and then in the cover email or cover sheet, that's where you would say we would like to be able to send this to half the free world. That, that we believe it's important enough to send it to the governor and everybody else. So, yeah, I just think I would hate for them to come back and tell us we can't say this, we can't send this.
well, let's not project. Let's hope that they're
Yeah.
going to receive this positively and
I hope so.
and allow it to be distributed.
Yep.
Well, if we remove Vineyard Wind's name from here, we're not talking about Vineyard Winds. We're talking about our concern about the future.
So wait, we're
I like
talking
keeping
about,
Vineyard Wind in there.
yeah, I think we should
Yeah.
keep it in there as well, because that's gonna get the selectmen to say we can't, that's gonna get Bobby his result.
Right.
If we
I
if
agree.
we just denude it and dilute it, then we're doing a disservice to everybody we represent.
Yeah.
And I want to say something else I want to clarify what Dave said about who we represent. Yes, we represent everybody that you said, Dave, but we are a town entity.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, my allegiance is with the folks that, we're
Mine
working
too.
for, but
Mine-
that was just an anecdotal comment, but that's who I feel we're working for.
No, I feel the exact same way. It's just that town administration looks upon us and all the committees and commissions and boards as being under the umbrella of the town and
No,
a
you're right.
part of the town. So when we speak out to whoever, we are representing the town as an entity. So
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you, Peter.
okay,
Yeah.
I just want to keep us out of trouble. That's all.
Bob,
No, I understand.
I'm gonna sign out. I just want to let you guys know, do we have a meeting next Tuesday?
Yes.
Yes.
I am going to be in the air on a plane, so I won't be able to zoom in. So
All right.
you won't have me next week.
I was actually going to talk to the board and see if, since 2 items that we were going to speak about were suggested we wait till January. The coupons that Jim Sherlin wants to talk about, the season extension. I mean, I was gonna just poll the board and see if we should just postpone our next meeting until the first week of January.
It's up to you guys. I won't be here, but I'll see you in January.
Okay,
I won't be there either. I'll be,
right.
Well, then let's go ahead and do that. Makes sense. We got this accomplished tonight.
Yeah, I don't think anything important is coming up. It'll be 7 days, I believe, before Christmas, or 8 days. December 17th would be our next meeting. We already know 2 board members aren't going to make it, but I'm wondering, what we even have on the agenda.
Yeah,
So aside
This
from,
is, this is the most important thing right now. This is the burning issue that we've got to get in front of them right now.
okay,
And
well, let's
that-
get this done,
because-
and Bob is welcome to go. And yeah, let's so the end of the 3 bullet points you've got at the end of this, specifically with Scott's name, Dave's name, and my name. Is that part of this? Is that like a
Nope.
postscript?
nope,
Okay,
nope. That
Okay.
was me putting those out because I was calling these things out and I didn't understand them. And I
Okay.
didn't add them to the letter because,
Well, it needed to be discussed.
right.
okay,
So-
but they really are covered in the letter. I mean, I believe somewhere back there, because I did write to you as I softened up a bit that this installation is in there. How do you study without it being activated? I know there's going to be some people out there that don't want to hear that from me, but I want to be fair all the way around with it. It's there. There's a lot of people that are for this, and there are a lot of people who are against it. And honestly, how does a real study take place without at least what's there being commissioned? But anyhow, but I think that's covered in here. So
Mr. Chairman, you need a motion to accept this.
Wait.
And
We want to have an item in there that is what Dave had said here. Express our concerns about microplastics.
well, I thought Scott had included that in the pollution phrase
Okay.
that he had used.
I did. So
Okay.
now you're going to make me remember what I said.
No, because we could talk about the oil in the cooling tanks. We could talk about, all kinds of pollution, including the shards, et cetera, et cetera. But if you include that, what Scott said about the pollution, I think we're good enough.
okay.
Okay.
So if Dave's okay with that, I'm with him to make a motion that I think we've got a good letter here.
I agree.
Good.
So I'll make a motion that Peter go ahead and take all this that he's diligently typed down and adjusted and make it into a letter and send to the select board as I believe we were all agreed and ask that it goes to.
Wait a minute. I'm looking at what I wrote. I'm not seeing any mention of pollution.
Okay. No, I mentioned pollution. So, yeah. So as Dave was talking about microplastics,
Dave
Inc-
Bossi here.
go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. Microplastics are pretty granular unknown, right?
Yep.
Dave Franzuto
Okay.
had expressed that he was concerned about, particularly on a failure, the microplastics that are going in. There's a whole nother microplastics about the wearing of the blades that just that occurs, right? They're being eroded all the time while they're spinning. So that's some pretty granular stuff. I like to think I covered the microplastics from a failure in the mitigation, disaster recovery, training, and exercise plan that was mentioned earlier, that is put in the document earlier. Just like nuke plants. I mean, I'm sorry, I was emergency manager for years, but because we had a nuke plant next door where I live, and this stuff is all just done. It's all in big books. You just walk through it, you do it. Nobody here did that because there wasn't anything for them to. There was no plan here, and I think Dave's. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his whole concern about the microplastics on a failure will be covered by an emergency response plan that actually works and does something. As far as the future emergency, the eroding of the blades and that stuff, I'm not sure we should address that here.
Okay,
Well, but in what you're saying, Dave, Mr. Bossy, that sentence is require that there be a comprehensive disaster mitigation recovery plan in place along with mandatory training and exercise drills for responders. But we're not specifically mentioning microparticles and recovery.
No, but
And
but
I'm
by
just
the same
wondering,
token, we're not,
Dave?
yeah, but by the same token, we're not talking about the oil. We're not talking about any sources of pollution. Now that you reread that, I think that covers that mitigation. I think that covers it. I was, where I was going, and it was just maybe confusion on my part, but I thought that the Natural Resources Department was awaiting or had received the microplastic analysis from the stuff that they had submitted. So maybe I'm getting the two confused.
Yeah,
But
they don't
I
have that
think-
yet.
Well, she told us a couple meetings ago that they had sent it off and they expected it. But anyway, I think what the sentence that's in there about the mitigation, et cetera, I think that covers
okay,
that covers it better than singling out microplastics. I think we're talking about a lot of different things for sources of contamination and pollution. So that's all I wanted to do.
All right.
okay.
I still feel like maybe a parentheses and an IE, microparticles, oil, fluids, etc. But no, I mean, we're leaving it up to just there being an understanding that this is addressing anything
Yeah,
in this
anything, right.
installation.
Right.
Okay.
Plus
All
we
right.
have all the, we have the grassroots group that formed to fight the wind turbines.
Yep.
And they're going to call out that stuff. They're going to note the things that they're going to note all the pollution. And then here we'll have it covered. So,
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Bossy, you want to condense, simplify that, the motion?
I make a motion that we authorize Peter to go ahead and produce this letter and send it to the select board, asking their permission to forward this over their heads, basically, to our senator, to our governor, and to what's the name of the board that makes the decision? I'm at Bob.
BOEM. Bureau of Ocean Energy Management.
Great, thank you. That would be my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we've got a motion to instruct Mr. Brace to revise this letter, send it to the select board, also requesting the select board to allow us to send this letter to State Senator, our Governor of Massachusetts, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, and if we feel it necessary to add to that list,
And any other entities that we feel
Well, I'm afraid if we say any other entities, I think we need to ask the select board, if we're gonna choose any other entities, we need to ask the select board, can we send it to this one as well? So, if we add in any other entities, we will come back and ask permission for those.
That's fine.
All
That
right.
sounds good.
Out of respect to the select board, we don't want to go over their head without their approval to go over their head. So as we've done, like Mr. Brace said, with the High Line, the speeding in the channel, sending those letters out, we've always asked the select board first. So did we got that? So the motion's been made by Mr. Bossy, seconded by Mr. Anderson. Any more discussion on this motion? Mr. Brace, you think you have it down enough to put
Sure,
it
yep,
together? All right, and when you do have it together, Jim Sherlin just sent me a message. He's sorry he missed it. He's over in Stage Harbor in his boat. But I'd like him to see, just email it out to all of us when you're done with it, Peter, so we can
Yeah.
see the final copy. So if there's no more discussion, I'll take a roll call vote to approve this letter, approving the motion made by Mr. Bossy, seconded by Mr. Anderson. All in favor, Mr. Bossy,
Aye.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
excuse me, Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Brace.
aye,
The chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
so I'm sending this address to, Brookmore. As I have it, but I'm gonna email it to Erica. And request that she distribute it to the select board, or should I send it directly to all the select board members?
Dave Bossy, it was my motion. I would distribute to the whole select board but in the cover letter to copy Erica. And no, I'm sorry, to all of them, say we would like to distribute this beyond the board.
Yep.
No, I'm gonna change that. I would send it to Erica, please distribute to the board. We request permission to send this to governor, mayor.
Okay,
I can't forget. I can't remember.
that's been our protocol, is to send it to Erica. She gets it to the select board and to Libby, and
Well, no, I think that's it. The select board,
Okay.
it'll get to them regardless. I think Libby will pass judgment on whether this can go over their head, or she'll talk to council and say, maybe yes, maybe no, and they'll figure it out. And then Erica will tell us.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, did we already make a decision about December 17th meeting? I'm gonna ask Mr. Bossy, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Franzuto.
I would skip it and let's meet in January.
Okay,
I would skip it as well.
Yep.
Agree.
okay, okay, I'm fine with that as well. I feel like we really don't have too much of an agenda. The two items that we were gonna discuss was suggested by our town biologist that we bring that up, wait till January anyway for that. So, okay, do we need to vote on that? Or just simply, we won't be
Consensus?
posting an agenda, so there won't be a meeting.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
we're
think
fine.
that's fine. Good.
Okay. Okay. We'll consider it that was a polling, and we're all in agreement to not hold the December 17th meeting. Our next meeting will be whatever the first Tuesday in January is, January 7th. All right. If there's nothing else to discuss, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion
moved.
There we go.
I'll take that as a motion made by Mr. Brace to adjourn tonight's meeting, seconded by Mr. Anderson. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye,
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Bossy,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto.
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much. I didn't allow any public comment. I imagine I would have seen a hand from our one member of the public. But anyhow, send us an email if you have anything to say. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Have a great holiday.
All
Good
right,
holidays to
well.
everybody. Merry
See you
See you
Christmas.
next year.
Take
See you next
care.
year.
All right. Good night, guys.